A customer judges with their wallet, but a judge scores with a rigid criteria sheet. Welcome back to the Floral Art Bridge. Today we're going to do a breakdown of how contemporary floral art is actually judged. We're going to translate standard retail beauty into the strict elements and principles of design. When a customer looks at a design, they see emotion, colour and abundance. But when a judge looks at that exact same piece, their eyes are instantly scanning for balance, proportion, rhythm and dominance, among other things. To cross the bridge into competition work, you have to learn how to see your own art through the lens of that rigid judging criteria. Let's look at two versions of a traditional wreath. So in the commercial and retail floristry trade, this image is of a traditional wreath that you might give for a table centre, a birthday party, some other activity. It has 100% surface coverage with flowers and foliage around the shape that is under the base. It's symmetrical, uniform distribution, and it's around a circle. The filler flowers here are used solely to hide the base, to give you that look of abundance. By contrast, in a floral art or floral design wreath, it is asymmetrical with crescent grouping, so 30 to 40% coverage of the ring shape. The actual armature or the base is generally exposed, so it can be wire or vine or contorted wood. And there are intentional open voids acting as negative design space within that framework. So let's look at how we can change from the high mass and volume of a commercial floristry wreath to something that is more attuned to judging in a floral art competition. With the commercial version, we've got high mass and volume. Every square inch of the base is packed tightly with plant material. The mechanics are concealed, so the greenery and filler exist primarily to hide the base, and there is a lack of negative space. There's equal visual weight throughout, giving the viewer no resting points to appreciate the individual forms and lines that are contained within that wreath. So the first thing we do to move that from something that would be more attuned to judging at a floral art competition is to shift to an asymmetrical or crescent distribution. Instead of placing blooms uniformly around the full circle, we group the plant materials in an intentional crescent along one side or across a dynamic diagonal. This leaves some of the ring open, creating a distinct silhouette where empty air defines the shape. We introduce exposed sculptural armature. So replacing the hidden floral foam or wire ring with an exposed crafted structure such as woven contorted willow branches, dark metal rings or fine wire webbing. When the mechanics and armatures are beautifully constructed, the structure itself becomes an artistic element rather than something to hide. It becomes part of the design. We look at grouping and restricting the floral placements for dominance. So by grouping 3 or 5 flowers at a dominant focal point near the lower third, and then letting smaller items taper outward along the line of the circle, gradually thinning out into bare branches, creates clear dominance and rhythm while allowing each individual petal and stem line to be seen clearly without competing with the filler materials. We vary the depths and the projections, so extending a few contorted stems or fine foliage sprigs outward into the open central void and outward past the outer rim uses the central opening as an active negative space rather than a passive hole, which draws the judge's eye through the design in 3 dimensions. So we're looking for height, width and depth. To better understand the scorecard, we must separate the what from the how. The elements of design are your physical tools, things like line, form, space, texture and colour. The principles of design are how you organise those tools to score points. So when a judge evaluates your design elements, they're looking for absolute clarity. In terms of line, is the visual path strong and unbroken? For form, does the three-dimensional shape have a clear definition? Space, are you utilising negative space intentionally or just packing it full of blooms? Texture and colour, are they providing contrast and depth rather than just random retail abundance? Next, they score you on the principles of design. So failing to transition these from retail to floral art is exactly why good florists don't do as well in floral art competitions. They'll look at balance. Is the visual weight perfectly distributed across the entire structure? In terms of proportion, do the sizes of your blooms relate harmoniously to your armature? With rhythm, does the judge's eye naturally travel through the design without getting stuck? And dominance, is there a clear focal area or are there too many elements fighting for attention? You can have the most exquisite, premium blooms in the room, but the mechanics, structure and negative space do the heavy lifting. A judge will deduct points faster for poor execution or visible, messy mechanics than they will for a bruised petal. Every single stem placement must be intentional and technically sound. Demystifying the scorecard bridges the gap between creating and winning. Understanding the scorecard means understanding restraint. Now that you know what the judges are looking for on that scorecard, we have to start applying it. In our next episode, we're going to be teaching the hardest lesson of all for retail florists, the strategic use of negative space. You're going to learn that what you leave out is as important as what you put in. If you're ready to master space and form, make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you can see video 3 next week.